program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
We've started our morning with a spotted cat in the tall grass, and this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning everybody. How is that view? What a way to start the sunrise safari. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Senzo, and we are bringing you a live and interactive virtual safari. So if you have any questions for us, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Send through your questions, well, anything that you really like, and hopefully we're going to have an exciting drive. But as you may have seen, we've relocated on our dear friend Hosana, and I'm quite happy to announce that he has not lost his kill to impalas, so good job on his part. But let's take a look at him. He's just laying down, sleeping in the wet grass, but I don't know for how much longer he's going to be sleeping. He could get up at any moment, really. He could go down to the pan to have a drink, but from this angle he looks like he's got an exceptionally swollen belly. So he might also need to have a little cat nap, which is normal for leopards to do. But it's not just me out on safari this fine summer's, well, it's not even summer, this beautiful winter's morning. James is also driving around, and Byron, and probably in the next 20 minutes or so, will be out joining us on bushwalk with Herbie and Ferg. And it's going to be another beautiful day out here. I think winter has finally settled upon us, or at least the early stages of winter. Crisp, cool mornings, but beautiful sunrises in the afternoons, providing beautiful sunsets. And well, let's hope we have many, many more of those to come. Now, as I said earlier, we were all quite impressed well, I'm definitely, and I'm sure Senzo is too. We're very impressed to see that Hosana hasn't lost his kill. And if you look just to the right of the tree, there's a broken branch. We just go a little bit to the right. There we go. And in the fork of the tree, you can actually see the impala carcass. So he'd killed a male impala. We're still uncertain as to when it is. Maybe it was 2 nights ago, and we just didn't hear all the commotion, and he was just being very sneaky and hiding away. And that's the case most of the time. Sometimes you don't even spot something like a leopard, which has got the most amazing camouflage as they move or lay down in the tall long grass. I meant to say lay down flat. And it's going to be one of those days. But still a little bit of meat left, not too much. So I reckon this afternoon he'll move off and head on to somewhere else. Though I hope he doesn't go anywhere. I hope he does decide to stay here, because there are plenty of impala ratting around. And well, we all know what's happening with the impala rams at the moment. They don't quite seem to have their heads screwed on tightly, which allows for a young, experienced leopard like this to take full advantage of them, which is great for, of course, Hosana. But like I said, it isn't just me out here this morning. James is bumbling about. He's going to look for anything, I think, this morning. So let's jump on board with James and Sebastian and say hello.
I am indeed going to look for anything that I can, and the first thing I'm going to find is the wonder of the eastern horizon here in the Great Kruger National Park. So that's the eastern view. It's heading out towards Mozambique and then the Indian Ocean after that. My name is James Hendry. I like to do that as the strap comes in. Right, I'm assuming it's out. I hope that you are all very well wherever you happen to be sitting in the world. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter is how you get hold of us. That's the best way to do it. Please, you can ask us anything you like. You can ask us about Africa, South Africa, safaris, any of the animals that we see here, geography in general around this continent. So anything you'd like, and we'd love to tell you about what it is that we do here and the creatures that we try to share with you and the rest of the world. So that's the story here. Let's have one last look at this horizon. It hasn't turned quite as pink and red and wonderful as it's going to, because it's still very early in the morning. And I'm sure, as Taylor told you, it is about 17 degrees Celsius, 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which for us is positively Baltic. Not quite, but I do have my beanie hat on. Sebastian is on camera this morning. He's dressed in what can only be described as a bomber jacket, and I think it looks very warm indeed. It's lined with a sheepskin. Where did you find that? Cape Town somewhere. A flea market, no doubt. Let's not give too much compliment to Cape Town. They get very above themselves. Okay, so we're going to continue down south here. While I say I am looking for anything, that is true. I was rather hoping the wild dogs might pop out again sometime during the course of the morning. They have not as yet, but they might. And then I have so longed to spend a bit of time with the hyena cubs, and it's been a very long time since they've bothered to show themselves when I've been at their den. So I'm going to head down there as well. And we've come firstly onto this western section of Djuma where we operate. Mainly because I was hoping to see if maybe Shadow hadn't popped out with her cub. Shadow is a now must be 10-year-old female leopard, and her little cub, who we have yet to name, and I was hoping maybe they'd pop out here. But that's all just hopeful, and somebody who of course does not need any hope at all, she needs no imagination today because she's sitting with Hosana, is Taylor.
Yes, we are. Thank you very much, James. It's about time my luck changed. I haven't been having the greatest luck with the animals, but that's all right. I'll take it in the waves that it does come, because that's what nature does for us, unfortunately. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and well, this morning, it's fantastic, isn't it? And he keeps tossing and turning in the long grass. I'm actually sure he must be enjoying the dew on the grass this morning, just because, as you know, when leopards do gorge themselves, which they love to do. Well, I think all the predators love to do that. He gets a little bit uncomfortable. I think that's why he's rolling around so much, is he can't just find a comfortable spot. And then, well, the nice cool temperature on the grass must be quite soothing, because you've seen them when they do have very, very full bellies. They're normally taking very, very shallow breaths. At the moment, it's not too bad, but it does look like he's eaten a beach ball. Hosana? Very, very cautious, and this is quite interesting to see, because the behavior with him by himself versus when he was with his sister and his mother is very different. He never had a care in the world when Karula was around, and his sister, he had 2 other pairs of eyes and ears to watch his back, and he could quite happily munch away, play around, literally with no worry in the world. But now that he's all on his own, well, it's a little bit different. And he's got to watch his own back. He's got nobody else looking out for him anymore. And you can clearly see that, how he keeps sitting up as well, looking around, because at any moment, the hyenas could come charging in. And I can tell you right now, he'll get a big fright. He'll have to go up to the top of a tree. That's where they'll chase him, and they will take his kill from him. He hasn't done a very good job, I'm afraid, in hoisting his kill. But I suppose you can't be too good at everything just yet. I'm just impressed that he was able to take down a fully grown impala. That's, to me, that is spectacular for his age. That is a huge achievement, and I really hope that he keeps it up. And also the fact that he has kept it so long, which is unusual, because the amount of hyena activity that is around camp is spectacular. We have hyenas in camp. I'm pretty sure there was one running around the car park last night, and for them, they would literally not even have to stand on their hind legs to jump up and pull this carcass out the tree. Where the one set of legs is sort of dangling, I can't tell which way is top from bottom now, because he's eaten so much of it. They literally could just walk up to it and snatch it and pull it straight out the tree. Which, at this point, I don't think it would be a big meal lost, because he's eaten most of it. And Rebecca, you were also wondering this morning, seeing as though James has been chatting about wild dogs. And by the way, James, good luck. I hope you find those beautiful painted dogs. And you were wondering if they would come through and steal them. Well, Rebecca, they most certainly would. Again, they would chase Hosana straight to the top of the tree. I don't think they would bother him too much, because that kill is so close for them. Normally you'll see dogs get a bit snappy and a bit, I think, annoyed when the leopards go up the tree and they can't get them anymore, and that's when you'll see them sort of jumping up, but they'll be distracted because he'll go straight up, he'll retreat, and they'll pull his impala kill down. They'll eat it very quickly because there isn't very much left on there. Then they might hang around a bit and, maybe 10-15 minutes. Eventually they'll get bored and they will move off. But that's really not much of a meal for anyone anymore. Though Shongile, I'm sure, would absolutely love to come and have a nibble on that, and I'm not sure where she is at the moment. I think she's hanging around little Gari. That seems to be her safe spot. But look at that. He's done a good job, Hosana. We are all very, very proud of you. I didn't think that this day would come so soon. I know he's been taking down sort of smaller prey as well, but the fact that he's gone and done this is quite sterling. And I hope he gets up too, because I'd love to see how much he's grown. And I saw him when I first got back to work, so about 2 weeks ago. And it was just at night, and I was so shocked to see how much he really had grown. But it was in infrared, so I didn't really get a good view. But now, the light is only getting better and better. So when he stands up and hopefully climbs up onto those branches, does a bit of an acrobatic job, and starts feeding again, that will give us the perfect opportunity. Well, and speaking of things that scavenge, hyenas, wild dog, James has got the scavengers of the sky.
I have got the scavengers of the sky, and the one on the right looks to have a full crop. And I can smell what I think is wet fur.
That's not me.
And that's not you, Sebastian, that is correct. The smell is coming from just in front of us. Now, I have got an extremely sensitive nose, but that's not to say it will be able to lead us anywhere. Anyway, that vulture's eaten. That vulture has eaten both of them have eaten in the last 24 hours. You can see that they're very swollen just underneath the neck there. And that's because their crops are full. They've had a rather cold and sort of damp night up there. Damp because of the dew. And now this one seems to be hiding its face, either in shame that it hasn't brushed its plumage before the morning began, or because it's cold and it wants to just stay a little bit warm. I mean, that looks totally headless. They both look totally headless, and I'm telling you it's because it's cold. They've just stuffed their heads behind their wings, and they're just resting there. And the reason they had them up was because they heard us coming. Then we turned the car off. They've decided that we are no danger to them at all, and so they've put their heads back underneath their wings, and now they're saying, no, that's not true. Alright, let's go forward. They will pick their heads up, and let's see if we can't pick up perhaps whatever it is that they were eating, or whatever it is that killed whatever it is that they were eating. Perhaps the remnants of a sort of hyena that came walking past here, leaving its fairly stinky odor about the place. Hello, vultures. What have you been eating? Now this gives you an idea of the temperature, because you will not normally get anything like this close to two vultures. They would normally take off and fly away. But because it's just cold, they're thinking twice about it. They're thinking perhaps we'll just sit here and see what plays out. Very difficult for them to fly in temperatures like this. There is no warmth coming off the earth, which means that they have to flap violently in order to get their fairly substantial bulk into the air. That smell has now dissipated, so I can't smell it anymore. Just going to get another update. Sorry, Mike, my radio's down. Can you go again with what you're following up on? And just look at the nictitating membrane there. Cubby. Oh, he's actually quite sweet looking, isn't he? He looks a little bit sort of sad, really. But you can see the swollen crop there very nicely. And the point of sitting like this with a vulture in the morning is to just see if we couldn't possibly hear the crunching of bones. There might be a leopard here that's eating something. There might be a hyena that's killed something. But I hear no crunching of bones. Now everybody, of course, you've met Taylor, you've met me, you've met Hosana and 2 vultures. We are now going to go to, how shall we describe him? I'll tell you how he described himself last night, and I'm going to allow you to find out from him why he described himself yesterday evening as the McDonald's of the bush.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the bushwalk. My name is Byron. Excuse me, and I feel like I've got the black-eyed peas with me this morning because I've got Herbie and Fergie on camera. So we're all out and walking around hoping to find some animals. James, I can't believe you did that. So James, yes, I made a joke and I described myself as the McDonald's of the bush because, well, James knows all about this, but the hair seems to be disappearing somewhat, and there seems to be a prominent M forming on the forehead. So I then laughed and said, "Oh well, I'm like the McDonald's of the bush then." Oh well, that's enough jokes now. Thank you, James. Thank you for embarrassing me on live television around the world. You always know how to build a friend up. Anyway, so we are going to go and look around this morning for some of the smaller animals, perhaps some insects, and very fortunate that Taylor's got young Hosana still in the same position we had him yesterday. I'm glad he managed to hoist that kill back up into a tree. So because there was a lot of hyena activity last night, we could hear them walking around. And then unfortunately the lions are just north, as James said, north into Buffalo's Hook, but we're going to walk around and see what else we can find. Maybe we bump into some elephant or buffalo. That would be really lovely. So we'll see. It is a beautiful morning. It is quite cool. But we decided not to go with our jerseys because we figured it's going to warm up quite a little bit later. And then it gets quite hot on a bushwalk, as you know. And let's just move through here, just past the telephone line. Because I think we're going to have a beautiful view, a beautiful glow of sunrise at the moment. How's that, Ferg? Should we try artistic shot number 1 of... Is that better? There we go. Beautiful glow of the sunrise. It's going to rise very soon, I think. I'll check what the time is. So it's almost 6:20. So just before sunrise, I suppose. Would we consider that sunrise, or do you have to see it? It is a beautiful, beautiful morning. So we're going to see or watch the sunrise. But while we do that, let's go back to Taylor and that beautiful leopard and see what it's up to.
Well, Byron, I'm so glad that you're out on walk this morning. I hope that your socks don't get too wet. But our leopard is still sleeping. But something that we do have, Senzo, have you looked over your shoulder to have a look at what the sunrise is looking like? Isn't that absolutely spectacular? I think we'll take a look. While Hosana is fast asleep, I think that we have got a prime view at the moment of this beautiful sunset, don't you think? It's absolutely spectacular. This fine... Oh, yes. I was wondering who was making strange gurgling noises, but silly of me, of course. It's the Impala, and it's echoing right through this drainage system. Now, Hosana is actually not even showing any interest of the Impala at the moment. There was one that I thought was going to come charging between, the car between Wendy and Hosana. However, it didn't. It stopped. It just was announcing that he's there, saying good morning to all of us. We then responded. We said hello, and it then carried on. It could be the same one that is still making all of that noise. But I think while Hosana is sleeping, let's watch the sun until it peaks over the top of the horizon. Isn't that beautiful? My goodness, James is playing copycat today. He's also got a beautiful view at the sunrise. Let's go and have a look what his looks like.
How dare she say we're playing copycat? Well, yes, I suppose we were. Here is the sun. It's about to be up, and in fact, I'm going to just let you listen to the dawn chorus until the great orb of the sky has made its way all the way into the sky. You may also just be able to hear the sound of Seb's stomach rumbling. And there we go, it's risen. Isn't that wonderful? And Annie, you say it was peaceful. It is so peaceful, and to do that every single day, of course, an enormous, enormous privilege. We had grey hornbills. You can hear there the emerald spotted wood dove. Plenty of other hornbills. A long-billed crombeck. Some Impala in the background going. Now apparently Taylor is in a different part of the world because her sun has yet to rise fully.
We're still watching our beautiful sunrise. You're quite right about that, and it is just about to peek over the tops of the trees now. The colours that it is turning is absolutely, spectacular. I was going to try not to say fantastic again. Actually, Kirst, what is our word of the month for May? I've forgotten. Is it marvellous? I'm just going to wait for Alice to let me know. It is marvellous. Wonderful. So what we decided to do is we said, little joke around camp, every month we will issue a word, and we have to try and use that at least once in a game drive. If not, then you get a punishment. So yes, so this month's word is marvellous. So we're going to see how many times we can say this magnificent, marvellous, wonderful sunrise. No, I'm being silly now. But look at it, it's going to come up very quickly. So I reckon in the next minute or so, maybe even a little bit less, we won't have that sort of half crescent sun. We'll have a beautiful big ball of fire in the middle of the sky, and I'm hoping once that happens, Hosana is going to decide to get up and go and take a drink of water. This is now the scene that I'd like this morning, him sort of walking very casually through the lovely golden grass with all the dew. Can you imagine the light coming off of that, and then, drinking from the pan would be perfect. However, at the moment, Hosana is still sleeping, and this is why we are enjoying the sunrise so much. I'm trying to be very patient with him this morning. I haven't actually had to be patient with leopards or any big cats for a very, very long time. So I think that if we sit for long enough, I think it'll be worth it. And I'm really hoping. Hosana, if you can understand English, please listen. Please do something spectacular for us today. Because that would be the best. It would make my day, really. It would just be the best. That's all it would be. But there it comes up. So we've got the sun, who is doing a very good job today. And I think this is one of the prettiest sunrises I've actually seen in a while. Now, I don't want to go in front of the lodge just yet because I'm not sure if if any of the guests are out. Oh, Excuse me. A little sneeze, because what I would have loved to have done is actually pathed. Thank you, Alice. Alice said bless you. Alice is directing today, just by the way, aka Siri. But she'll always be Alice to me. And I'd love to sit on the damn wall this morning. It would have been quite lovely, I think. But it's okay. This view is also quite nice. Marula trees, lots of marula. Oh, knobthorn trees on the right too. We've got those in frame. We've got a variety of vegetation this morning. Wonderful. And the birds are all chirping. You know what you should have heard, and maybe if any of you were watching the dam cam just before the show started, is that you would have heard all the fiery-necked nightjars calling. It was really quite beautiful. There must have been about 5 or 6 individuals that were all calling. And I was trying to have a conversation with Sebastian, and, well, we just couldn't hear each other because they were so loud. So what I'm going to do now, the birds are just starting to wake up. I'd love for you to have a little listen. Isn't that great? Just to hear all the different sounds of the bush. I wish that you could smell what I'm smelling too. Don't know why, but I'm getting the smell of freshly cut grass. Now, there's no freshly cut grass around here, but it's freshly cut grass. No scent of rotting impala carcass, which is great, because I don't know if my nose could have handled that so early in the morning, so that's quite nice. The turtle doves joining in now. Buffalo weavers in the background. And particularly around this area, it's normally the buffalo weavers and the turtle doves that are making all of the noise and all of the ruckus, but I hope that you enjoy that. Should we have another look at our dear friend Hosana and see if he hasn't moved at all? I don't even think he's twitched his tail at the moment. He's now gone into a deep slumber. So I'm actually starting to think, did we perhaps arrive a little bit too late? Maybe he was up and feeding a little bit earlier this morning, which is maybe why we had all the alarm calls. I believe that there were Kudu and Impala alarming around here. And if he was walking around, that would have indeed startled them. But for now, fast asleep, and we'll sit here for a little bit longer and see if he does decide to get up. But I'm not sure if he will now. But Byron, well, he's gone from not searching for leopards on foot this morning. He seems to be taking it easy, looking for the smaller things, and he's got some beautiful yellow flowers to show you.
I do indeed, Taylor. So we have seen some beautiful yellow flowers, and those are the senna flowers, beautiful bright yellow little flowers that you saw there. Now we've just come and we just kind of behind the camp at the moment, close to Gallego Pan, nice waterhole. Just thought we'd head down, see if there's any activity around here. Now, with these early mornings, these cool mornings, you might get lucky and still see some of the nocturnal animals still moving around, possibly honey badger or civet perhaps, especially moving into winter. But chances of seeing seeing them on foot are not really good, because they often hear us or see us coming and run away quite quickly. Better chance on a vehicle perhaps. I can just hear a beautiful bird calling now. A grey-headed bush shrike. There are actually two calling, so it's like surround sound. There's one calling off in that direction, one off in that direction. They've got that beautiful, well, they're known as the ghost bird, a beautiful call, and it's because of that haunting whistle that they give. Let's see if you can hear it. So, very, very loud sound. Beautiful grey-headed bush shrike. Very difficult to see. They dart between the trees and through the thickets. They prefer thick, almost like riverine habitats. So this is perfect. Moving down to this drainage line. Oh, lovely morning. Now there's some elephant dung here too. Now we are going to be looking for elephant. This is not particularly fresh. However, have a look at this. There's some little like a fungus of sorts. Almost, they appear to be little mushrooms, but I think it's just a fungus that's growing out of this elephant dung. And you get a lot of these fungi growing out of elephant dung, and that often because it's obviously a lot of nutrients, a lot of dead and decaying plant material in there with all this very coarse dung. You can see the grass and plant material in the dung very, very easily. Always interesting to see, and especially with all the moisture around at the moment, we do get a lot of little mushrooms and various sorts of fungi growing out at the moment. We saw one on the road earlier, some on dead tree stumps. There's a lot of that currently, and because of all the dew, as I said, the dew and moisture that we get around after all the rain, and also just because of these cooler temperatures now, you do get a lot of moisture and dew on the ground from the early mornings. So we're going to be heading through this little drainage line, so we'll have to just look out, be a bit more alert, just because we might get but buffalo or elephant moving through the thickets. So we do need to just be aware and listen out very carefully. Anyway, so from our fungi, let's go to a fun guy, James, and see what he's up to.
Byron's jokes sometimes leave a lot to be desired. That was one of those jokes that leaves a lot to be desired. Anyway, yes, we're with a very fun guy, a wildebeest. This one is particularly ashamed with himself. He is chewing his cud with his head in behind a bush. He has just had his morning constitutionals, and I'm very pleased that you didn't link to us while he was having his morning constitutional, so that I may be reaffirmed as the bush laxative, which is absolutely the effect we had on this wildebeest when we arrived here. It is the most glorious morning, and I must just say, in Byron's defense, there are two things that can make Byron angry. One, if you touch the food on his plate, and two, if you take his things. He will take any amount of teasing you care to give him, with a good humour and endless patience. This is tremendous, of course, having someone like that around camp. He's completely insensitive to the teasing, which makes him very amusing. A bit like this wildebeest. Let me just move slightly, because he's quite fun. He's a bull on his own, and he's been living in this area for some time, in and amongst the Impala, sometimes when they come past, but that big herd of wildebeest has already kind of moved on from quarantine. Well, they're spending less time there, shall I say. They have been around there. There we go. And this poor chap is now lonely and bereft on his own. Well, the other important thing that Byron was mentioning, as we look at this sort of bovid-shaped animal, was buffalo, and he had a sighting of a buffalo yesterday lurking in the long grass, and I think they're slowly starting to come back up into this area, and that is going to make for much more, slow walks. We need to be a lot more aware. There he's chewing his cud. He hasn't shaved this morning. You see that his beard's looking a bit dishevelled. Now, a wildebeest like this will keep various parts of his... he needs three things in his territory. He needs a shady tree. Well, he's got plenty of those here. He needs a little bit of a water point, and there's a little pan around here, and I suspect that's the focal point of his little territory. And then he needs some decent grazing, and he's got that in abundance. But his little territory that he set up here, and I wonder if he isn't quite young. He's got quite small horns, so I think maybe he's quite young. His inexperience has perhaps led him to set up a territory here in amongst the thickets, which is not really ideal for a wildebeest. They far prefer open open areas, and you can see there that's him marking. He's got pedal glands, so he's marking his territory there. He almost looks like he might lie down. He's very, very confiding. Hello, dear watcher. You're wondering about why this chap is alone, and you say, has he been kicked out of the herd? No, he hasn't. They don't spend time in herds once they become adult bulls, dear watcher. They tend to spend much more time alone or in small bachelor groups. Yes, I suppose that, when the breeding season happened, which was probably about 2 months ago, he wouldn't have been sort of flavour of the month for the big bulls in the herd. But he may well have been one of the bulls that was mating. But now that time has kind of calmed down, they will often be found on their own, or with a herd of impala or zebra or something like that, just some other herbivore that is not going to do them any harm, that will provide some security cover for them. He's very vulnerable here on his own. If the lions were to come wandering down here, he would be a prime target, especially as he has decided to live in a thicket, which would provide any predator with a tremendous amount of cover. And because he has absolutely no early security warning in the form of impala or other antelope or other creatures with him, unfortunately he would be fairly easy pickings, I think. You can hear a beautiful call of my favourite bird, the white-browed scrub robin. Now, on Greek, you are interested in whether they are related to zebras because of their stripes. No, that is an example, I suppose we might say, of a convergent or convergent evolution. They've developed stripes perhaps for the same reason that zebra has. They are not related in the slightest. The best way, they're in a completely different order. They come from the sort of odd, they're from the even-toed ungulates, and they've got cloven hooves, which is what we're looking at now, whereas a zebra, of course, comes from the odd-toed ungulates. They have got one hoof, and in fact, something like a zebra is more closely related to a rhino than it is to a wildebeest. A wildebeest much more closely related to the other antelope species, of which there are 9 out here, including the hapless impala that you've seen Hosana devouring this morning. So they're not vaguely related to the equids or the horses or the zebras, donkeys, mules, anything else like that. Well, Cedar Point, yes, that's why they've got those horns. You say, could a wildebeest ever injure a predator? Absolutely they could. Have I ever seen it? No, I haven't. But those horns are designed for that purpose. They don't do a huge amount of infighting themselves. Yes, they do a little bit. But as soon as a herbivore has got horns on male and female, you can be fairly sure that they are used for defense. And I don't think it's a coincidence that their design is similar to the design of buffalo horns. I think they are very effective for hooking. And I think that hooking action is an effective defensive mechanism, and I think that they definitely use them to ward off predators. They don't do nearly as much fighting with each other as, say, impala do, and an impala's strategy is to run away. And that's why the females don't bother to go through the metabolic or physiological expense of growing horns. So if you've got male and female with horns, you can be fairly sure that the horns are used for defense. Now Byron, I believe, has got something that is able to help him with toothache. I wonder if he has got a dental problem.
No, fortunately, I don't have a dental problem, James, but these do indeed apparently help with toothache. Now, this is just such a lovely example of a knob thorn that I thought I had to show you, because you can see all these wonderful knobs or nodes coming off of the tree. There we go, managed to break one off. stronger than I thought. So apparently the locals believe that if you grind down the knobs from the knobthorn tree, and you put it on your tooth, if you've got a toothache, it helps helps numb the pain. So that's what they would use this for. I've never tried it. Fortunately, we have got dentists around now, but apparently it did used to help back in the day. But this is a beautiful example of the knobthorn, Acacia nigrescens. I hope I haven't made a mistake. No, but it is Acacia nigrescens. And that is the knobthorn. But just this was a wonderful example of this acacia. Now it does have sharp thorns on it, which you might be able to see over here. Have a look at that. Have you got some there too? Yeah. A lot of sharp thorns on them, 2 hooked thorns. Very, very sharp thorns, so you don't necessarily want to climb this tree. But a beautiful example of these little nodes or knobs protruding off of the stem of this tree. And now something else that's quite interesting that we've managed to see, and I think maybe from this side, folks, we might get a better view here. I think through here. What do you think? Just over there, right at the kind of the center part of the tree. We'll see if we can get it for you, but that looks like a wasp nest. It's a species of wasp that a lot of them do is they inject hormones into the tree and causes the tree to bulge slightly, and then they build a nest out of that. So that is from a wasp. Very, very interesting to see. Sometimes you also get species of ants that do it, also inject hormones into a tree, and you get these bulbs forming. Some of the wasps, you also see it quite regularly on the silver cluster leaves, but that's a nice example of a big wasp nest up in that in this acacia. A few of them around. No, I didn't hear the full name from the question, but it was one of the zoomies, it sounded like. You asked how sturdy is this tree and are we able to climb it? It is sturdy enough to climb it, yes, definitely, but I wouldn't climb it because of those very sharp thorns on it, so it would be very difficult to climb, but you can indeed climb it. And I've just noticed there's another little wasp nest up at the top here, but this one's made from mud. You can see that's a very clear mud wasp nest up at the top there. I've packed the mud into the tree, and you do see them around lodges in there too. You'll often see these little mud nests built by the wasps. So it's interesting to see, if you just take time and have a look at trees like this, all the different signs of insects that use these trees. There's always a lot going on. They provide homes for many different types of animals. Everything from squirrels who might burrow inside and have a little home to wasps and bees and ants. So it's really wonderful to see. Now we're still continuing along. We're still moving through quite a thick area, but it seems very peaceful this morning, which is lovely. Past 1 or 2 little mud wallows. Haven't seen any sign of animals yet, but it's still early, so we might still get some activity a little bit later. Now, I did chuckle because I heard James say things that upset me, taking food off my plate or touching my stuff. Yes, James does know that. But I had a list of things that upset James. However, the list was so long I couldn't actually bring it on walk with me. But maybe one day we'll sit down and I'll bring the pages out of things that upset James. One of the things is if you sing a song to an incorrect tone, he doesn't like that very much. Let's go and see how Taylor's doing with the leopard and find out what upsets her.
Byron. But yes, this leopard, our beautiful friend Hosana, is still fast asleep. I was going to say he hasn't done much, but then I'd be speaking utter nonsense. He has turned around 3 times. He's done a couple of rollovers, but he hasn't even popped his head out and looked back at us, which is one thing that I find absolutely fantastic, is that he doesn't feel threatened by us. He's not bothered by us at all, that he feels as though he needs to look over his shoulder towards us. However, anything else that makes sudden movements through the grass, he sits up and he stares and gazes off at them. But I think what we're going to do now is he doesn't really show any signs of waking up. He hasn't done the typical leopard wake-up signs, I suppose. He hasn't yawned. He hasn't started grooming himself. Like I said, he's pretty much just laid in the same spot all the time. I did get a bit excited when he was rolling around a few times in hope that, well, he was going to climb the tree. But we'll come back. You know what's really beautiful? It's just down at the Vultures Dam. There's some really amazing mist coming off of the water. So I thought, let's go down there. Let's have a little squiz around and see if we can't find maybe some birds or something else that's come down to the water's edge. So we'll just very sneakily go along this 2-track and then take a little look. Daniel from Scotland, I couldn't quite hear what she said. Sorry, Alice. It sounds like you're underwater again. I think you said, do you have morning drives? Morning doves, yes. Here we go. Now I can hear. Right, so Daniel from Scotland would like to know this beautiful morning. Do we get morning doves here? I'm sure we do. I haven't seen any though. I used to see lots of them in the Eastern Cape and also in Zambia. They were all over. It's actually one of the few bird species I haven't heard calling around here. We shall check on my mobile device once we position ourselves on the wall to see what their distribution is. Daniel, how about that? Oh, but it's so pretty here. Look at all that mist. We're not going to go into the dam wall. I've changed my mind. We're going to have backlit mist over the Vultures Dam. How does that sound? What does that look like, Senzo? Good? Is that fairly pretty? So while you have a look there, I'm going to very quickly open my bird app and have a look and see exactly what the distribution is of the mourning dove. And that might help us. Let's see. And then we'll also play the call, just in case some of you are wondering what it sounds like. So I'm going to go D for doves. Let's turn the volume on as well. I'm going to play the call for you first. Are you ready? Now, this is it. I think that actually fits very well with that view, and all that little ripples that you can see on the top of the water, as well as all the mist. Well, the ripples are from little insects that are feeding on top of the water's surface. Isn't that absolutely spectacular? Now I'm going to quickly look over here. Right, I'm just quickly checking as you look here the distribution. We're just out of range. There's a couple that have been spotted in the area, so not typically common around here. But you never know. Maybe one gets blown in with a big tropical cyclone, seeing as though we get those every now and then. But what a spectacular view. Now, we're going to go back across to Bushwalk, and we'll do a couple of driving around, see if Hosana does wake up. And I think Byron has, well, some ants.
I do indeed have an army of ants. And these are little red ants. Now, I'm not exactly sure the scientific name of the species of ant. There are red ants, and this looks like I don't think it's necessarily a hunting party or foraging party. I think this is a colony that's, I don't know if they're moving colonies or if they are going off looking for food. Using this line of ants is already have made across the road. And you can see they definitely have made a very clear cut line in the soil, in the sand, heading across the road. But it's fascinating to see all these ants heading up and down. Most of them are heading this way, but I do see some returning. I haven't seen any carrying anything. That's why I'm not sure if they're going looking for food. Usually if they are looking for food, you'll see some carrying bits and pieces back. So I wonder if this is not just perhaps a colony that is that are trying to establish a new home for themselves and relocating possibly to another area. That's what it looks like. But beautiful reddish color. I mean, they're bright red. Nice to see them. I haven't seen this species of ant for quite some time. I've seen them before, obviously, but it's not often you get to see a little party like this moving across a road. Very interesting. We get a number of different species of ants out here, as some of you may have seen already. I know one of the larger ants that we get, quite a big black ant, is the Polyrhynchus that we often see around the tent, and James likes that ant quite a lot. But then another one that we get out here, which I haven't seen for quite some time, it's called a Matabele ant. Now the Matabele ants are very, very large, and they can be quite vicious if you get near them or try and disturb the colony. They all attack, and they can give you a nasty little bite. But those are rather large ants. They're about this size, the Matabele ants. Some of them get to about that size, so very, very big. Much larger than these little red ants. Now, I'm not sure if these red ants are similar to the fire ants that you get in the United States. I don't think so, but I'm not sure. I do think they can give you a bit of a nasty bite if you obviously have them all crawling on you, just cause a bit of irritation. I think that's it. But anyway, we're going to leave these ants. I believe Taylor's at the dam with a beautiful view.
We do look at that shimmering gold that is just flickering off the surface of the water this morning. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? Now, it's not very often that we get to see water that looks like it's, well, not even water, just liquid gold. Now, that is spectacular. All we need now, which would be absolutely perfect, would be for one of those big monitor lizards that we've been seeing around the dam to come swimming through the shot. How spectacular would that be? I think that's going to be another sighting I'll have to add to my list. We still have not seen Impala bounding about, silhouetted at sunset. Still waiting for that. But let's put that one out as well. And it wouldn't be impossible either. It's now starting to warm up quite nicely. The sun, you can see, is starting to illuminate all the banks, so all the reptiles that would have been quite chilly last night would start to get a little bit more active. And I don't even know where our friends the white-faced whistling ducks are, because that would have just been spectacular. They've moved off, so I wonder if Hosana hasn't perhaps scared them all away, which wouldn't surprise me either. He can be a little bit naughty, that level. Not naughty, he has to eat, I suppose. And, well, Mom and Dad, white-faced whistling duck, they wouldn't feel very safe with a young male leopard moving around. But that is just too gorgeous. So it's a bit quiet in terms of the birds out here. Normally it's filled with Egyptian geese, like we were chatting about, the white-faced whistling ducks, blacksmith lapwings, little three-banded plover, but they don't seem to be here this morning. So I think let's take a little drive back around and see if Hosana has woken up. We'll go the scenic way around. I haven't seen any movement just yet, though. So I'm feeling a little bit sad this morning that Hosana has let us all down because of his full belly and his, well, tendency that he needs to sleep, as all big cats do. And I just think it's hilarious because Hosana and Shongile, well, they were the two feistiest little leopards with the most amazing big personalities. However, as they start to get older, they start resembling and, well, copying the behaviors of an adult leopard or an adult lion, and that entails many hours of sleep. But we're going to try and make our way back into, well, where Hosana was last seen. James has got something that hopefully Hosana will be able to take down when he's a little bit bigger.
He might not even have to get much bigger. He's done very well, of course, to kill himself a delicious... killing himself a delicious impala. I will tell you that we didn't come to this area so that we could look at kudu. We came here in the hopes of finding ourselves Tingana the male leopard, but unfortunately he headed into where these kudu are now sitting, and these kudu are sitting in the reserve called Torchwood, and Torchwood is a place that we may not go. And so Tingana is in there somewhere, heading in a southeasterly direction, unfortunately away from where we are. Anyway, this is a very pleasant kudu sighting. You've already got a leopard, so we don't need to worry too much about finding a leopard cat. Look at this. Apparently Taylor has got Hosana and a live Impala. I don't know what that means. Let's go and find out.
I cannot believe this. This is fantastic. This is a big Impala ram, and I think it's the one that's been running around all morning, making a lot of noise that I thought was going to put himself between us and Hosana, and well, he has. Now he's just turned his back on him. I can't see whereabouts Hosana is in the grass, but you see where that little termite mound is? That's where he was. That's where he was laying. Oh, there he is. You can just see the spots. So he's looking attentively at the Impala. See how his breathing is picked up? There he is. Let's go a bit wider because I think he's going to run. He's flat in the grass. The Impala has absolutely no idea that he's there. I don't know what he's seen. If he saw the other Impala hanging from the tree and is just wondering, there you see how he's starting to slowly move. Look how his breathing pace has changed too. We saw him earlier. His breathing was very slow, very relaxed, even with his full belly. He's now concentrating. And if we could, I'm sure that his tail would be moving slightly in the grass. But I'm hoping that this Impala actually just comes walking straight towards us, because if he does that, he's going to put himself a little bit closer to Hosana. I think he knows something's up there. I mean, Impala are not unintelligent animals. Everything out here is very, 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 very clever. However, his mind is not well where it should be at the moment. He's got two things on his mind. He's chasing out the younger males, and if there's an opportunity, if there is a Impala ewe in estrus, well, he would like to mate with them too. So I'm quite keen to see his next movements. He's not far. There must be about 15 meters or so between them, maybe even a little bit less than that. But there he is. He's put his head up now. Put your head back down, Hosana. Don't be silly. And this is the inexperience again. Now, the grass is actually not particularly long around here. Here he goes. No, not yet. Be patient, Hosana. This is where he needs to, while the Impala's got his back turned towards him, he needs to crawl. He needs to do a proper leopard crawl. He could easily put another 2 or 3 meters closer towards that Impala. Remember, they don't need much. Ideally, they want to get right underneath an animal's feet and then pounce up and land on top of them, but sometimes that's not always going to work. And we'll see how this all plays out. But how exciting is this? This is so exciting. Impala, come back this way. Stop going the other way. He's got quite a bit of coverage. He's got the grass. He's got the termite mounds. There's a few little shrubs. So that's why I keep saying he could easily move towards this Impala without the Impala even knowing that he is there. You see that? All the little senna trees, all the new bush willows that are just starting to grow. He can hide behind those. Now, we're not going to move at all at the moment. We're going to stay in the same spot. Oh. There we go. Impala's spotted him. Did you hear that alarm? He's walking towards him. Now, this is quite typical, of course, of Impalas to do. If they do spot something, they'll often alarm and sometimes move a little bit closer to get a better view. There we go. Hosana, what are you doing now? No, he's not interested anymore. He's actually just slinking off to the right. Impala actually doesn't mind too much of this leopard. Hello, beautiful. Yes, it's because you had your head above the grass, you silly chap. Otherwise, you could have potentially got another meal. Now, you're going up further. What are you going to do with that, big boy? Well, that's a little bit sad, I think. A big Impala ram is watching, probably one of his friends. Well, maybe not his friends, maybe one of his enemies. Maybe that's him laughing at the moment, at the misfortune of this other impala. But as Hosana sort of shifts this carcass around, you can really see how big an impala ram actually is. They're not small animals. I think he's looking for another spot to try and move it around, but that tree's got a bit too much vegetation on for him to be able to clearly hoist it even higher. Don't worry, Hosana, that impala is not going to come and eat your kill. I think that's what he's worried about at the moment. Because he panicked as the impala started alarming. I think let's take this moment to reposition quickly. What I want to do is I actually want to go back a bit and see if we can't get the impala in the shot as well. So I'll just reverse. And just do a little bit of reversing. It's very funny. Hosana is now snarling at the impala. He's showing his frustration, basically saying, I'm so annoyed that you've now given my presence away to everybody. Now I'm not worried about moving too much because they both know, well, the impala knows that Hosana's here. Just trying to get it so we can see this impala, but this impala has positioned himself in such an awkward spot. There we go. I think that should be okay. Now we can get both of them quite clearly. Yes, big boy, we can hear. We know that you know that there's a leopard in the tree. Well done. Your eyesight is fine. But watch Hosana's face quite carefully, because like I said, you might see him show a little bit of frustration, which is always funny. Snarling, growling, not at us, of course. They do it with birds, they do it with any antelope that alerts everyone of their presence. Hold on tight, boy. You're going to lose your kill. He's still struggling. He's big, but he's not massive yet. So and I think he's almost bitten off a little bit more than he can chew with trying to hoist it around. He's eaten most of it, so it should ideally be a lot easier for him to maneuver. I can't imagine how hard it must have been for him when he first caught the impala and took it up. I wonder if he did what Karula does and ate a little bit before he tried to hoist it. And it also explains why he didn't hoist it in a particularly big tree. I don't think he has developed the muscles just yet in his shoulders and in his hindquarters to be able to go straight up 2 or 3 meters up a vertical marula and then hoist it in a fork in one of those trees. He'll take some time. Remember, he's still young. He's not even a year and a half old yet. He's still got a long way, a lot of growing to do, and he's doing a fantastic job as is. But how great is this, finally? Our hard work and patience is, well, not hard work. We didn't do any hard work this morning. I'm just trying to justify it. But our patience definitely paid off. You're going to squeeze through the trees there. Where are you going? Come back here. We're not done looking at you, Hosana. He's apparently done with us watching him. Up he goes. Up to the tops of the trees. Now, I don't know where he's going to sit up there, and I'm not sure what his plan is just yet. Unless he goes higher, there's a couple of branches that are nice horizontal branches that he could lay about. However, the ones that he is walking on at the moment, that's impressive, are not particularly big. But it looks like he's settling down. Oh, that's fantastic, Senzo. What a beautiful shot of the leopard peering through the leaves. He's very agitated at the moment. Again, he's not agitated with us. He's very frustrated with this impala ram that will now not go away. And he probably won't. He might stay here for a couple of minutes, keep shouting at little Hosana. Shame boy. It's really funny to actually sit and see things like this. Now, none of the birds have started alarming, and there's lots of hornbills, lots of starlings, lots of drongos. They don't seem too bothered. Now, Kate B, you're wondering how old is Hosana. He's not very old. He must be about 1 year and 3 or 4 months old now, so he's just shy of 1.5 years. And he, of course, has a sister too, Shongile. So the fact that he's not even 1.5 years old and he is taking down fully grown impala rams, unbelievable. That is really, really, really fantastic. I think there's very few leopards that can say at his age that they've done what he's done. I think he's done exceptionally well. He's definitely overachieving, which is great, and I hope that he keeps it up. It's very important for him to constantly keep feeding at this young age. You know, imagine Karula hasn't been around. We are very worried about her. We don't know where she has gone. We haven't seen any evidence of her. which is a bit sad considering that we see Karula. We were seeing her almost every single day. So she ideally would have kept these cubs for a little bit longer, even as old as 2.5 years for Hosana. Apparently Karula has a reputation for holding on to the male cubs. So he would have been provided kills for the next year and a couple of months. Now he's got to go off and do that on his own. And this is vital stages of muscle development, all these types of things. And the only way you can do something like that, of course, well, is by eating. And he's doing a great job. And I hope Shongile is doing just as well as him. Now, of course, you know Byron is on bushwalk. I saw movement on the other side of Vuyatela Dam, and I think that is Byron. Should we go and say hello?
It is indeed us, Taylor, and we can see your wonderful sighting from across the dam. And we saw her little Hosana climb up into the tree there, and that Impala alarm calling at him. And obviously we can hear those alarm calls very clearly from this side of the dam. Now, something else interesting that we did see briefly, I was hoping it would stick around to show you, but there's a big bird party at the moment in this entire area, just to the left of the dam. And up in the trees at the back, there are a lot of hornbills and starlings and red-billed buffalo weavers. There was a woodpecker, but there was also an African harrier hawk busy jumping around the tree looking for potential food. But it seems to have moved off now, and it was very difficult to see it. It was jumping around, and we couldn't get a closer view of it, unfortunately, and I can't see it. I think it has moved off. There's also red-billed oxpeckers. There are a lot of birds around there at the moment. That whole area just littered with birds. Beautiful morning, sure. Very, very nice morning. You can still hear that Impala alarm calling. Now, I mentioned this yesterday, how that little spot in that area that Hosana is in is perfect because it's a prominent game path for a lot of the animals. They walk down from the clearings up at the top. They walk down from there down towards the waterhole or down to the dam. So it's and back again. So he's actually in a great position because if he's clever, he can stay and hang around there and probably just wait for the Impala to walk past him and try and hunt. And I think that's how he managed to hunt that Impala. I do think that's how that happened. And as we can see, another Impala's already started to, got quite close to him. But he'd have to hide a little bit better if he was looking to hunt again. But I think he's so full, he's still got quite a bit of that carcass left by the looks of things, or there is still some meat left. So he'll probably finish that up at some point, I would say today, by this afternoon or evening. I think it'll be done. I think then he'd most likely move off. Once leopards have finished the kill, finished the carcass, they do move off, probably go and look for water and then leave an area. I'm just listening to some birds again here. Really enjoy this drainage line. It's a beautiful area. I always think there's so much going on in here that we don't see. I just want to have a look. Just hold on quickly. Taylor has got Hosana again, but I just want to see. Oh, there it is, that African harrier hawk again, and he's just flying off. I could hear the birds' alarm calling, the starlings, but he's just flown further in through the thicket. We'll see if we can get a view of him. He seems to be darting away from us quite a bit, but the birds are all alarm calling at him, chasing him away. Anyway, let's see if we can get a view of that African harrier hawk, but let's go back to Taylor with Hosana in the tree.
He is indeed still in the tree, hiding away. I think he got a little bit nervous once that Impala started alarming, because he hasn't left yet. He's still snorting. And I think he's had quite a bit of experience with hyenas. I've seen them in many sightings before where the hyenas have come through and joined, or even wild dogs, that type of thing. So I think in a moment of panic, once he realized he was not going to catch that Impala and the tables had turned, he thought anybody could come running in at any moment to respond. perhaps another predator on those alarm calls, and I think he knows that his kill is very much exposed and it will be spotted quite easily. And of course the animal's sense out here is absolutely incredible, so they would have smelt this Impala carcass too. We can't smell anything just yet, luckily for the cool days, but they would be able to. And I think that's why he quickly decided, let me see if I can reposition the kill, which unfortunately keeps getting hooked on the branches that he has rested it on. And then he's hidden himself, he's concealed himself so that he doesn't draw too much attention, which is actually a very good strategy. And I suppose it's a defensive strategy from a young leopard or any young predator. It's better to behave that way because you are small. If you do find yourself in a bit of confrontation after perhaps an impala has given away your presence, you don't want to sort of have to challenge wild dogs, challenge hyena, or even worse, a lion or a leopard, because they would not stand for him. They would chase him away, and if he was lucky enough to actually get away too. So I think that's why he's hidden himself at the top of this tree. A very clever boy. He's not very happy though. We're happy though. We got to see him move around quite a bit. I was hoping that we were going to watch him try and chase that impala down. That would have been so exciting. But you never know. This impala ram has obviously got his territory in this area. And I think that they've got a bit of goldfish memory at the moment. So maybe as the day progresses, impala will forget that there was a leopard here. Or maybe Hosana moves and he can try and go for him again a little bit later. But you can see he's come even closer towards the tree. He's not looking at Hosana now. He's just checking elsewhere. And I'm actually also going to look in the direction that the impala is looking, because he can probably hear a lot more than what we could. It could be the voices, people talking from Voyatel Lodge. Or it could be something running through the grass on their way here. We don't really know. But he's a beautiful ram though. He's a big boy. He's mature. He's definitely not one of the youngsters. And I don't think that this is his first rutting season either. So he's experienced. But how cool is that? Keeping an eye on us, listening to us, both ears moving around independently, listening to the voices from all the staff at the lodges, and I'm sure listening to Hosana as he breathes. But it's almost impossible to see him in there. And you know what? As we were driving around the last couple of days, he could have just been sitting up here too, or down on the grass. And you would never see him from the road. You don't even get to see the kill from the road unless you happen to be staring into the distance and you focus on the tree. Then you might be able to see it. But other than that, with all the foliage that it has on it, it makes it quite difficult, which is good for him. The impala has now moved away from him. So I'm hoping as the impala moves off, he seems to have got a bit bored now. Or he's made his point that there is a leopard here, that he is going to climb back down this tree again. Maybe come and feed. How cool is that though? What an exciting morning it has turned into. Let's go back across to James and see if he's having any luck.
Well, the luck that I have had is here at Buffelshoek Dam. I suppose it's really predictable luck because the hippopotami are here, all three of them. I thought I saw 4 initially, but it may have just been that one has a larger head than the others. And there may just be 3 of them. It's a lovely, peaceful morning scene. Let's just keep an eye on him. He might leap up, and he was starting to show some sort of territorial behavior a little while back. And we were racing along here to see if we couldn't get sighting of Tingana, but unfortunately he is headed into Torchwood. And so there is no Tingana sighting for us. But he continues to do his enormously long walks around the place, does our Tingana, on patrol. And young Hosana, of course, would do well to... There is another one. There are 4. Just popped its head under the water there. This is the first time I've seen 4 here. I haven't been here for a little while. There we go. Oh, it's great having a resident hippo like this. I hope they stay around. Well, let's just quickly, can we go and have a look at the Franklin yelling its head off in front of us there. It's so cross. It's a Natal spurfowl. just been sunning itself. I think it's decided it's now warm enough. And there are flocks of ground hornbills calling all over the place. It's wonderful to hear them too. Let's have another look at the hippopotami. And then I think our plan from here is going to be to head down south again.
It's playing hide and seek.
It is playing hide and seek, that one. It's quite shy. It's the newest addition to the pod. Hello Reety, you're wondering about hippo sweat and why they sweat a different colour. Reety, they sweat pinkish because it's a sort of substance that will help them to protect them against the sun. So while your sweat has absolutely no, of course women don't sweat, only men sweat, but so my sweat, for example, is not designed to help me or protect my skin against the sun. It is purely designed to help me cool down, so it gets rid of moisture and it traps heat, or the moisture is trapped in the heat, and sorry, I'm talking rubbish now. The heat is trapped in the moisture, which then gets onto the skin, which in turn evaporates off the skin, and that helps us to cool down. Now, a hippopotamus actually doesn't need to sweat for the purposes of losing heat, for thermoregulation. It stays in the water for that. It sweats this pinkish stuff to protect its skin against the harmful UV rays of the sun. So it sort of sweats itself a factor 50 onto the back, and that's what's red. That's why they sweat a different colour from us. And so yes, although it does come from sweat glands, I suppose you might call them, it's not necessarily to keep cool. It's much more to protect the skin from the sun. Of course, I know that women do sweat, but we don't talk about such things, do we, Seb? We like not to think about that. No. It's like women don't snore either. Did you know that? Only men snore.
That's true.
It is true, yeah. Although... Alrighty, we're going to carry on now. We're going to do a little turn around at the top of the dam wall. And then we're going to head down to the south again and see if we can't head on to Chitwa and find something over there. What is that's just a log, isn't it? It's not a lion in the grass. It's down there. It's a log. Oh well. Alas and alack. Starting to warm up beautifully now this morning. I'm going to have to put my hat on shortly. Ooh, there's a lovely starling. Alright, I'm not sure if Taylor's still with Hosana, but she has got a smaller carnivore alongside him.
We are still with Hosana, but you know what's so fantastic? Because we actually haven't had to go too far this morning. We've got a termite mound that has got an impala's head coming out of it, and then of course loads and loads of little dwarf mongoose, all coming out to enjoy the lovely warm heat of the day. And we're not far. And this is also the same impala that we saw that was alarming at young Hosana. We must be about 50 meters away. You may also see a fence just behind the impala ram and the termite mound with all the mongoose decorating it. And that's just because we are near Vultures Lodge. So that fence that you've got over there, that's of course just to keep big elephants and buffaloes out. Well, the rest of the smaller things, they can do what they like and go where they want, really. But how great is that? There's so many little mongoose there. This could be another group for Jamie or Byron to come and habituate. There must be about 15 of them, probably even more. Some of them may have not even woken up just yet. But how fantastic is that? 3 different mammals. We've got leopard, dwarf mongoose and impala within a 50-meter radius of one another. And that's what's so fantastic about these safaris, is that I didn't need to go anywhere this morning. Obviously, I was getting a little bit impatient with Hosana not waking up and doing exciting things, because as you know, one of my least favorite things to do is to sit and watch cats sleep. However, I'm so happy that I indeed did, because that is spectacular. And we will try and go a little bit closer as the day progresses. I think those mongoose are just going to I've only just started to wake up now and just come out, so I think we've still got a bit of time. But what we have also done, I'm going to just swivel around in my chair, is we've managed to get quite a cool view of Hosana peering through the leaves. Now, I have to tell you a little behind the scenes here, which is really funny. To try and get these shots like this, I have to have Senzo zoom right in to his face, and then we literally just go around the tree 37 times until we can find the best view. And it did take us a couple of attempts, but I think that we did pretty well. Earlier we had some great shots, but we had the couple of sticks in his face, but he kindly repositioned for us. And I think this is actually where he's going to spend the rest of his day. I didn't think there were very many nice horizontal branches in there, but as a leopard does, he's proven me wrong once again, which is good. I don't mind when the animals prove me wrong, that's okay. And he's found himself a great spot, nice shade. He'll keep nice and cool. He's got the dam close by, so again, keep your eye out on the dam cam for most of mid-morning, because I think he could come down and have a drink of water, which will be quite nice to see, to get a leopard fix, sort of in between game drives. But how great is that? Now remember, we are watching a live safari. In case you have just joined us, welcome. There we go. Hosana is saying welcome to all of you. He's looking you straight in the eye now. And if you have got any questions, hashtag Safari Live. Now, for those of you who have just perhaps found the Safari Live feed and you're wondering who is this leopard and why he has a name, well, he's a young male leopard. His name is Hosana, and his mother is a very famous leopard. She's the queen of Djuma Private Game Reserve, or even the Northern Sabi Sand, and her name is Karula. However, we haven't seen her for quite some time. We're not sure, and sadly we're all starting to suspect the worst, that maybe she was taken down by something, maybe it was natural causes, we don't know. We haven't found any footprints of her, but we also haven't found a carcass. That's something that we must remember. We have not found any carcass yet, so we can't sort of give you an answer as to where Karula's gone, because we have absolutely no idea. She could have just marched straight out of her territory. I believe that she has been seen down near Mala before, so you never quite know. Maybe she's decided that she wants to go for a holiday on the luxury sand river, which I don't blame her for. It's beautiful down there, plentiful in terms of game, so she could have gone around there too. But luckily, we are still seeing her two beautiful children. And this one, of course, Hosana, and she also has a female cub of the same age, and her name is Shongile. Now, Byron is on a roll this morning. He's gone from Djuma jeans raiding nests. He's now found a little spider in a beautifully lit web.
There is indeed a beautiful little spider here. I can't really tell what spider it is, unfortunately, but look at that web. A very, very clear web, and again, with all the bit of moisture around, these webs are standing out very, very clearly. Now, what is that little spider? I'll have to double check, but look how clever it is. It's actually, what it does is, it folds its legs together almost. So it appears as if you can only see 4 legs, but the legs are just held tightly together, and it's spread out, and that's how it sits and waits for little insects to jump into its web, and then it will try and catch them. But very interesting to see. Now, I've seen these spiders before. There's a few different species in this family, but I can't remember, for the life of me, I can't remember what the name is now. I'll try and have a look in a book when we get back. James has got his spider book, I think. I've got a book too that I can check. That's a lovely view. We couldn't get another view of that Djuma gene earlier though. It was raiding or trying to raid some nests further on, but it was tricky to stay with him and try and film him as he was flying away from us. There's still a lot of moisture around. I'm just having a look, and if you look through here on the grass, you can see all the dewdrops in the sunlight. Very beautiful. All this moisture around at the moment. I do love this time of year, I really do. Now, while we've been walking, I'm speaking about all this beauty that we're seeing around us, but while we've been walking, we've also been hearing a lot of the beauty. And what I mean by that is we've heard lions calling. The lions, not too far from us, but they are on Torchwood, the neighbouring property to our east. And we've heard them. We've heard a leopard calling. And I think it may have been Tingana calling, also slightly northeast of where we were, or where we are. So there's a lot calling at the moment, which is great. And that's one of the beauties of the bushwalk, is because you're walking around, you hear a lot more than you do when you're on a vehicle. You might miss certain things being on a vehicle, because it's just a little bit loud, more wind. You don't necessarily hear everything. So, these earpieces. But it is nice to hear them, and even though they are quite far, the sound travels a lot this time of year. Very clear air, so the sound does travel much further than it usually does in summer. So we can hear them, and they sound a lot closer than they actually are. But I know there are some vehicles with those lions on Torchwood, so we know that they are that side. But always nice to hear them. Now, there's a little bit of a midden over here, but what I wanted to show you is some more fungus. Look at these beautiful mushrooms over here. Wow, those are lovely. Rather large mushrooms. So we saw some fungus earlier this morning. We saw a few mushrooms around, and I was saying at the moment, with all this moisture and fresh dung around these mushrooms, it's a perfect little habitat for them to grow in. Some little biting flies around here too. Well, that's nice, beautiful mushrooms. Those are quite large. Nice view of them. Hey, well, it sounds like Taylor's still with those dwarf mongoose. I wonder if they're all out and playing in the sun now. Let's go and have a look.
Byron, I think it's because they heard the sound of your voice that they've now decided to come out of their little termite mound. We approached the mound. We got a little bit closer, so they did all run away, as they do. They needed to assess the situation to make sure that we were not a threat. And we've been sitting here for about a whole of maybe 3 or 4 minutes before they felt brave enough to come out. So maybe they, like I said, I think they heard you, Byron. And I think you can quite easily, you and Jamie can fight over the title for Mongoose Habituator. I'll keep the zebra and wildebeest habituation title. You can have this one. But they are so precious, and now it's quite funny to watch them every time they duck into their burrows again, is because every time I move, even just the slightest movement, they can see me. And they're a little bit wary, but hopefully they'll be fine. There's also some crowned lapwings that are alarming in the distance. That's why they're looking over to the right every now and then. And they will listen to bird calls or birds that are alarming, because when you're as small as a little mongoose... Hang on, Senzo, can you see this little one on the left that's sticking? It looks so fluffy. Don't you think it looks so fluffy? Look at it. It's so cute. That is so funny. It looks like it's popped its tail into an electric socket and got a bit of a shock. Now, I think it's Lara Moore. You're wondering, oh no, I can't. Oh, that is correct. Oh, wonderful. As we look at our very fluffy mongoose over here. Sorry, Alice, can I actually have the question again? All the birds are now alarming and distracting me. Let me look over my shoulder to see if it is a Hosana that's coming out the tree. Now, sorry. Lara Moore, you're wondering if these mongoose would be threatened by the leopard's presence? Most certainly. They will duck and dive. They won't hang around, even with a wild dog, any predators. Because even though they are small, and it wouldn't necessarily be a big meal for something like a leopard, you never know. Hosana will sneak past and maybe snatch one of them up. So the birds, they typically will respond to, because I think at the moment their biggest fear is raptors sort of swooping down and snatching one up. You don't like the camera very much, do you, little one? Yes, I'm talking to you. And So anybody that alarms, you'll find the mongoose looking about and probably ducking and diving. When you are this small, you've got to be a little bit careful. The bigger you get, I suppose, there's normally more of you. If you look at the impala and the antelope as they start to get large, and even with the mongoose, they live in good groups, so it's quite difficult, I think, to catch a mongoose because there's so many eyes and ears around to keep a lookout for you. And the same thing goes, of course, for the impala and some of the birds that are a bit gregarious. They're always looking out for each other. But these guys are fantastic, and I'm hoping that the rest of the family are going to come out and join the lot in their sunbathing session. But James has also found some beautiful little mongoose.